want to talk about a Mortal Kombat 1 theory that I have about the story, specifically about Liu Kang. And this idea was inspired by someone's comment on yesterday's video, so a shout out to Freestyle for this. But before we get into that theory, let's look at our community art, which is just an incredible depiction of Mileena's Mortal Kombat 1 look. It's probably one of my favorite that I've seen so far. It's so stylized. I just love this artist style. This is probably my favorite Mileena default look since Mortal Kombat Deception. I will leave a link to the artist's Twitter in the description of the video if you want to go like it, repost it, whatever it. So first and foremost, if we look at Liu Kang's bio, we get this tidbit of information here that says, but that piece is not threatened by an enemy that Liu Kang could never have anticipated. So my theory started because, one, of that comment, but two, who could be the biggest threat to a literal god, right? Well, another god. And even more than that, another version of himself. So my mind immediately went to Eren Yeager when I thought about this. If you guys watch Attack on Titan, you'll know exactly what I mean. But what if Damashi, who is said to be in the story of MK1 because of leaks, is actually just an astral projection of Liu Kang from another timeline? Because he knows that himself in this timeline is actually the villain of the story. He's the one that needs to be stopped. I know it sounds crazy, but hear me out. In Mortal Kombat Deception, we saw how Shujinko, the protagonist of this story, got manipulated by Onaga, but it was unbeknownst to him because Damashi was the apparition that came to Shujinko in need of help. But he didn't know that all this time it was actually Onaga telling Shujinko everything he needs to do in order to release the Dragon King himself. So he didn't know he was actually doing his bidding, and at the end of the story, Onaga does come back with all the Kamidogus because he wants to be all powerful and blah blah blah, like most villains, right?
Will help you to understand.
Damashi! What has he done to you? Let him go!
Shujinko! Please save me! Oh, you fool! Damashi does not exist. The avatar you see before you is merely a projection of my consciousness. I manipulated this astral puppet from beyond the boundaries of death, and in turn, manipulated you.
And ever since we've known from the leaks that Damashi was going to be in the MK1 story mode, actually helping out Shang Tsung, what if Damashi isn't a projection of Onaga the Dragon King, but is actually a projection of Liu Kang from another timeline? Shows that Shang Tsung is the one that needs to stop this evil Liu Kang in the current timeline. Now, honestly, I don't know how much sense that would make considering we know that Kronika is back and that they're trying to make Kronika and Shang Tsung and possibly Geras like the villains of this story. But because we have so little information, I guess it could work as well. I don't know if they're really willing to make Liu Kang the villain of the story, but I think it would be a really interesting take to see how all the power he has received actually corrupted him, because he literally formed reality with his will. He formed it according to what he wanted to see himself. And of course he gives people a choice, right? They still have choices to do what they want. But we know that he neutered Shang Tsung's powers because we know from chapter 1 that he does not have any power. We know that he made Geras his friend slash protector of the hourglass, and he has changed the fate of so many people, however. But because they don't have the memories that Liu Kang has, of course they can't hold anything against him, right? However, what if these memories will be given back either by Shang Tsung or by Liu Kang from another timeline? What if the one they all have to go against at the very end is Liu Kang himself? It would be a nice moral of the story, power corrupts type of thing, right? But more than that, just think that if they do defeat Liu Kang and he realizes that, you know, this power is not meant to be wielded by one person, will this bring about the creation of the Elder Gods again? Because as of now, we don't know if they even exist. And in my opinion, they probably don't. You know, since Raiden is mortal in this timeline. And Kronika looks mortal as well, but who the heck knows, right? Because maybe he'll realize, hey, we need a type of democracy when it comes to godly stuff and controlling the very fabric of reality, right? Because if someone is out of line, then other people can do something about it. But if there is only one, then what can mortals do against a powerful god, right? So it would be some sort of a theme of, tyranny versus sort of political democracy-ish, if you want to look at it this way. But let's say my theory is correct. I think this is the way it might happen, right? But obviously we don't have all the information on the story. So I can't say for sure, elder gods might actually exist in this timeline. We just haven't seen them yet. But I think it would be a nice cautionary tale. Liu Kang will become one of the elder gods along the other ones. Maybe Raiden will become one as well. Think of it as the creation of this sort of divine council is a way to keep balance, just like the Mortal Kombat tournament was used this way as well. However, even if I think this theory makes sense to me, I'm pretty sure the NRS team came up with something way crazier than I could ever dream of. So I'm really excited to see what they came up with, even though I don't think Mortal Kombat storylines don't really matter to me that much, to be quite honest. But it's still fun to watch them unfold. So let me know what you think. Am I freaking insane for thinking that Liu Kang will be the villain of this story? Or is it actually way too obvious and it's something else entirely? What happened in the Mortal Kombat 1 story in the comments down below. And as always, have yourselves a very wonderful day. And I'll see you all very soon.